What's scarier than a serial killer? How about a serial killer who has never been caught? Or a serial killer who has been seen and described by only two survivors? A serial killer who hid his identity in methods like that of a horror movie? Today, we tell the story of the Phantom Killer.
I did not break the law.
You sabotaged my ass, society.
What do you want to call me a murderer for? I've never killed anyone.
February 22nd of 1946, 5 minutes from midnight. Jimmy Hollis, age 25, and his girlfriend, Mary Jean Larry, age 19, were parked on a distant road known to the locals as Lover's Lane. A mysterious man with a white cloth on his face approached their car with a flashlight. All they could see were his eyes and mouth through holes cut out in the makeshift mask. Hollis treated it as a prank, telling the masked man that he had the wrong people.
I don't want to kill you, fellow. So do as I say.
This was no prank. The couple complied, and not too long after, Hollis was told to take off his pants, followed by 2 blows to the head from a pistol. The sound of his skull fracturing was described by Mary Jean Larry and mistaken for gunshots in the spur of the moment. She was also hit with a blunt object and instructed to run away in a specific direction desired by the Phantom Killer. Upon finding a car on the road, she was approached by the Phantom and was sexually assaulted with the barrel of a pistol. When released, she ran until she could find some sort of residence. About half an hour after the attack, both Jimmy and Mary had gotten police attention, and Jimmy was hospitalized with his head injuries. The two were questioned and disagreed on the man's race due to the mask and blinding flashlight. This would be only the first attack by the Phantom Killer in the next 3 months. March 24th, 1946. 30 days after the attack on Jimmy Hollis and Mary Jean Larry, Richard Griffin, age 29, and Polly Ann Moore, age 17, were both found dead in Griffin's car. The motorist who reported the finding found the vehicle on Rich Road, another local Lover's Lane for the locals. Both victims had a bullet put in the back of their heads, with Griffin having 2 more bullet holes in his body in addition to the headshot. Police and detectives determined that the 2 lovers were most likely murdered outside of the car but placed back inside the car after being killed. A .32 caliber bullet, most likely fired from a Colt pistol, was also found on the scene. A reward was put up for anyone who could provide any clues that led to the arrest of anyone involved in the murders. The reward was at $500, but only led to false claims being made. Over 100 of them, in fact. May 3rd, 1946. Virgil and Katie Starks were home as any ordinary day. Unfortunately, it would be the last time they'd have one together. Around 9 p.m., glass shattered in the living room behind Virgil as he was sitting in his chair. The window behind him had been broken from 2 gunshots that would result in 2 bullets being put in the back of his head. Katie ran into the room, not having heard the gunshots because of the loud noises from the glass. She was shot in the face twice. 1 bullet entered her right cheek and went out near her left ear. The other bullet went through her chin and lodged under her tongue. Mrs. Stark managed to run all the way to her neighbor's house. They rushed her to the hospital, where she would stay there for several days. When asked about the incident, she mentioned at one point that her husband had feared being watched and potentially killed, as he had noticed the sound of a car outside of their home for a couple of nights. The investigation of the crime scene led to some uncertainties. First off, there were claims that the chair that Mr. Starks was shot on had been set on fire purposely, or it was an electrical fire from a heating pad he had. Additionally, different statements came up whether he still had been in the chair as the chair burned, or if he had fallen onto the floor. Finally, there was no direct way to connect this to the Phantom Killer, though it has been highly believed it is strictly because the bullets were .22 caliber rather than the .32 caliber the suspected criminal was known to use. The reward for helping find the killer, Mr. Starks, had reached $2,500, and if it were proven to be connected to the other crimes mentioned, the now $7,500 reward for information for those crimes would also be added to the total. In the case of almost all of the crimes, there were many suspects questioned and several people taken into custody for further investigation. A close lead was found in the case of Betty Jo Booker. Her saxophone was never found after her murder, which led to the arrest of a man who fled after trying to sell an alto saxophone to a music shop, though he did not have one with him. He was arrested after purchasing a .45 caliber pistol at a pawn shop, and furthermore had been found with bloody clothing at a hotel he was staying at. He explained he had gotten into a bar fight, which was proven to have been true. Along with the other answers to his questions he received from authorities, police told the public that they must catch the right man or no man at all. Hence, they no longer considered him to be a suspect at this point. The prime suspect ended up being a man named Ewell Swinney. He had been caught by a man named Max Tackett after seeing him run out of the back of a building. After being arrested, he made statements saying things along the lines of not wanting to be sentenced to the electrical chair, as if he were guilty or something sinister. Swinney's wife had confessed that her husband was the killer of Betty Jo Booker and Paul Martin, but had conflicting stories from each conversation with police, almost as if she were hiding information or feared incriminating herself. Due to the law, though, she was unable to be forced to testify, and the result of the trial would have Swinney sent to prison for only car theft, due to the lack of evidence of all other charges. Today, there are still people who believe the killer was never found and escaped without ever being identified. Others actually believe that he was found and was held in prison without the public's knowledge. Some reasoning for this would be to prevent the payout of the money that was promised for information that led to the arrest of the killer, or even that at some point the killer had been found but never properly identified as such. But the mystery of the Phantom Killer's identity remains to this day, and most likely will remain as such until the end of time.